In the heart of Lagos, where the sun blazed relentlessly and the streets thrummed with the chaotic rhythm of life, lived Amara, a young woman with dreams as vast as the Atlantic Ocean. Her story began in the bustling neighborhood of Ajegunle, where the air was thick with the scent of fried plantain and the chatter of traders. Amara, 24, was a seamstress by day, stitching vibrant Ankara fabrics into dresses that told stories of tradition and hope. By night, she was a dreamer, sketching designs for a fashion empire she swore she'd build one day. Amara's life wasn't easy. She shared a cramped one-room apartment with her younger brother Chidi, a 17-year-old with a quick tongue and a knack for fixing electronics. Their parents had passed years ago in a tragic bus accident, leaving Amara to raise Chidi on her own. Money was tight, but Amara's spirit was unbreakable. Her laughter could light up the darkest corners of their small home, and her determination was a fire that never dimmed. One sweltering morning, as Amara worked her sewing machine, a customer walked into her tiny shop, a woman named Madame Gloria, a wealthy boutique owner from Victoria Island. Madame Gloria was a force, draped in gold jewelry and a commanding aura. She'd heard whispers of Amara's talent and wanted to see it for herself. "I need something extraordinary for the Lagos Fashion Gala," Madame Gloria said, her voice sharp but intrigued. "Can you deliver?" Amara's heart raced. The Lagos Fashion Gala was the biggest stage for designers in Nigeria, attended by celebrities, politicians, and international buyers. This was her chance. She nodded, her hands trembling as she took measurements. "I'll make you a dress that will steal the night," she promised. Days turned into sleepless nights as Amara poured her soul into the design. She wove together bold reds and golds, inspired by the Yoruba goddess Oshun, crafting a gown that shimmered like a sunrise. Chidi, ever her cheerleader, stayed up with her, fixing her old sewing machine when it groaned under the workload. "Sis, this dress go make them shout," he teased, his eyes sparkling with pride. But trouble was brewing in the shadows. In Ajegunle, nothing stayed secret for long. A local thug named Razor, who ran a gang called the Black Scorpions, had his eyes on Amara's shop. Razor was a lean, menacing figure with a scar across his cheek and a reputation for getting what he wanted. He'd been pressuring small businesses for protection money, and Amara's refusal to pay had put her on his radar. One evening, as she locked up her shop, Razor's boys loomed nearby, their laughter echoing like a warning. Meanwhile, across town in the glittering world of Victoria Island, Madame Gloria had her own secrets. She wasn't just a boutique owner. She was entangled with Chief Adebayo, a powerful politician with a web of shady dealings. Chief Adebayo had promised to fund Gloria's expansion into London, but only if she delivered influence at the gala. The dress Amara was creating wasn't just a gown. It was a statement, a tool to cement Gloria's status and Adebayo's power. As the gala approached, Amara's life began to unravel. One night, Chidi came home with a black eye, his usual swagger gone. "Razor's boys jumped me," he admitted, his voice low. "They said if you don't pay up, they'll burn the shop." Amara's heart sank, but she refused to bow. She'd worked too hard to let fear win. Instead, she doubled down, pouring her anger into her stitches, making the dress even more breathtaking. The day before the gala, Madame Gloria visited Amara's shop to inspect the dress. Her eyes widened as Amara unveiled the gown, its fabric, catching the light like liquid fire. This is beyond my expectations," Gloria said, her voice soft for the first time. But then her tone shifted. "You'll come to the gala with me? I want the designer there when I wear this." Amara hesitated. Ajegunle girls didn't belong in that world. But Gloria's insistence left no room for argument. That night, as Amara packed the dress, a knock came at her door. It was Tunde, a childhood friend who'd always had a soft spot for her. Tunde was a taxi driver with a warm smile and a heart full of loyalty. "I heard about Razor," he said, his face serious. "You need to be careful, Amara. He's not playing." Tunde offered to drive her to the gala, promising to keep an eye out for trouble. Grateful, Amara agreed, unaware that Tunde had his own reasons for wanting to be close. Reasons tied to a promise he'd made to her late father. The morning of the gala dawned bright and tense. Amara dressed simply, her nerves a tangle of excitement and fear. The dress was her ticket to a bigger future, but Razor's threats loomed like a storm cloud. As she and Tunde loaded the gown into his taxi, a black SUV pulled up across the street, Razor's boys watching. Tunde's jaw tightened, but he said nothing, driving off toward Victoria Island. At the gala, the air was electric with wealth and ambition. Amara felt out of place among the chandeliers and champagne, but Madame Gloria pulled her into the spotlight, parading her as the genius behind the dress. Chief Adebayo, a towering man with a politician's charm, took notice, his eyes lingering on Amara a little too long. "You're one to watch," he said, his smile hiding something darker. As Gloria took the stage in the gown, the crowd gasped. Cameras flashing. Amara's heart swelled with pride, but the moment was cut short. Her phone buzzed, a text from Chidi. "Razor's boys are at the shop. They're trashing it. Help." Panic surged through her. She slipped out of the gala, Tunde at her side, racing back to Ajegunle. The streets of Lagos blurred past, a city of dreams and dangers, where Amara's future hung in the balance. Would she save her shop? Would Razor's grip tighten? And what did Chief Adebayo want with her? The night was far from over, and the shadows of Lagos were closing in. The taxi screeched through the chaotic streets of Lagos, weaving past Okadas and Danfo buses as Amara's heart pounded in her chest. Tunde's knuckles were white on the steering wheel, his eyes flicking between the road and Amara's panicked expression. "We'll get there in time," he said, his voice steady despite the urgency. Amara clutched her phone, Chidi's text burning in her mind. "Razor's boys are at the shop. They're trashing it. Help." She tried calling him, but the line went straight to voicemail. Her stomach churned with dread. Ajegunle came into view, its narrow streets alive with the usual nighttime hum, music blaring from bars, hawkers calling out, and the faint glow of kerosene lanterns. But as Tunde's taxi turned onto Amara's street, the scene shifted. A crowd had gathered outside her shop, their murmurs carrying a mix of fear and curiosity. The air smelled of smoke. Amara leapt out before the car fully stopped, pushing through the onlookers. Her shop, her sanctuary, was a wreck. The wooden sign she'd painted herself hung crooked, half torn. Inside, fabric rolls were strewn across. The floor, her sewing machine tipped over, and the small table where she sketched her designs was smashed. In the corner, Chidi sat slumped against the wall, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead. His arms wrapped protectively around a bundle of Amara's sketches. "Chidi!" Amara dropped to her knees beside him, her hands trembling as she checked his face. "Are you okay? What happened?" Chidi's eyes were defiant but shaken. "They came for the money again. I told them we ain't paying. They just started breaking everything." His voice cracked, and Amara pulled him into a fierce hug, her own fear swallowed by anger. Tunde stepped inside, his face darkening as he surveyed the damage. "Razor's gone too far," he muttered. He turned to the crowd outside, spotting a few familiar faces. "Who saw this? Anyone gonna talk, or you all scared of that coward?" The onlookers shifted uncomfortably, avoiding his gaze. Razor's name carried weight in Ajegunle, and no one wanted to be his next target. But an older woman, Mama Ngozi, who sold a kara nearby, stepped forward. "I saw 2 of his boys," she whispered. scorpion tattoos on their necks. They laughed while they did this, like it was a game. Amara stood, her fists clenched. I'm not letting him win. She turned to Tunde. We need to clean this up and keep going. The gala's not over yet and Madame Gloria's expecting me back. Tunde raised an eyebrow. You're going back? After this? That dress is my future, Amara said, her voice steel. Razor wants to break me, but he won't. Not tonight. Chidi, wiping blood from his face, nodded. I'll help fix the shop, sis. Go do your thing. Show him what you're made of. Reluctantly, Amara agreed, leaving Chidi with Mama Ngozi to patch him up. Tunde drove her back to Victoria Island, the tension between them thick but unspoken. As they crossed the third mainland bridge, the city's skyline glittered against the night, a stark contrast to the chaos they'd left behind. Amara's mind raced. Razor's attack wasn't just about money, it felt personal, like he knew her success at the gala could change everything. Back at the gala, the atmosphere was electric. Madame Gloria was still the center of attention, her gown drawing gasps and whispers. She spotted Amara and pulled her aside, her eyes narrowing. Where did you run off to? People are asking about you. Buyers, Amara. International buyers. Amara forced a smile, her mind still on Chidi and the shop. Family emergency. It's handled. She didn't mention Razor. She didn't trust Gloria enough for that. Gloria's expression softened, but only slightly. Good. Because Chief Adebayo wants to meet you. He's impressed, and trust me, his attention is worth more than gold. Amara's stomach tightened. Chief Adebayo's interest felt like a double-edged sword. She followed Gloria to a private lounge where the chief sat, surrounded by a small entourage. His presence was commanding, his tailored agbada pristine, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. Miss Amara, he said, his voice smooth as oil. Your talent is remarkable. I'd like to invest in you. A studio, perhaps, in Lekki. What do you say? The offer was a dream, but something in his tone made Amara's skin prickle. She glanced at Gloria, who nodded encouragingly, but Amara sensed strings attached. That's generous, sir, she said carefully. I'll need to think about it. Adebayo's smile tightened. Don't think too long. Opportunities like this don't wait. As Amara returned to the main hall, her phone buzzed again. It was a voice message from an unknown number. She stepped outside to listen, and Razor's cold, mocking voice filled her ear. Nice dress, Amara, but you can't run from me. Pay up, or next time. It's not just your shop that burns. Her blood ran cold. How did Razor know about the dress? Was someone watching her at the gala? She scanned the crowd, her eyes landing on a man in a dark suit near the entrance, his neck marked with a scorpion tattoo. He met her gaze and smirked before slipping into the shadows. Tunde appeared at her side, sensing her unease. What's wrong? Razor's here, she whispered. Or his people are. We need to leave. Now. As they made their way to the taxi, Amara's mind spun. The gala had opened doors, but it had also drawn dangerous eyes. Razor's threats were escalating, and Chief Adebayo's offer felt like a trap. Back in Ajegunle, Chidi was waiting, and her shop, her lifeline, was in ruins. Yet the fire in Amara burned brighter than ever. She wouldn't let Razor or anyone else dim her light. But as Tunde's taxi sped back toward Ajegunle, a black SUV trailed them, its headlights cutting through the Lagos night like a predator's eyes. The black SUV's headlights loomed closer in Tunde's rearview mirror, a relentless shadow tailing them through the labyrinth of Lagos streets. Amara's pulse raced, her eyes darting between the side mirror and Tunde's tense grip on the wheel. They're following us, she whispered, her voice tight with fear but edged with defiance. Tunde's jaw clenched. Hold on! He swerved sharply into a narrow alley, the taxi's tires screeching against the uneven road. The SUV hesitated, then followed, its engine growling like a beast on the hunt. Amara gripped the door handle, her mind flashing to Chidi, alone and vulnerable back in Ajegunle. She couldn't let Razor's boys catch them. Not now, not when everything she'd worked for was at stake. "Tunde, we can't lead them to the shop," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Chidi's there." "I know a place," Tunde replied, his eyes scanning the road. He took another sharp turn, weaving through a maze of back streets where streetlights flickered and stray dogs scattered. The SUV struggled to keep up, its bulk less nimble than Tunde's battered taxi. After a heart-pounding minute, he pulled into a crowded market street where late-night vendors hawked roasted corn and second-hand phones. The SUV slowed, then vanished into the traffic behind them. Amara exhaled, her hands trembling. "How did you know to lose them like that?" Tunde's smile was grim. "I grew up in these streets, Amara. You learn to outrun trouble." He didn't elaborate, but the weight in his voice hinted at stories he hadn't shared. Amara wanted to press him, but her phone buzzed again. An unknown number. She ignored it, her nerves too raw for another of Razor's taunts. They reached Ajegunle without further pursuit, but the sight of her shop reignited Amara's anger. The damage looked worse in the dim streetlight: shattered glass, torn fabrics, and the faint smell of smoke lingering in the air. Chidi was inside, sweeping up debris with Mama Ngozi's help. His face lit up when he saw Amara, though the cut on his forehead was now a swollen bruise. "You're back!" Chidi rushed to hug her, but his eyes flicked to Tunde. "Any trouble?" "Plenty," Amara said, her voice low. She recounted the SUV and Razor's message, watching Chidi's expression harden. "He's not just after money anymore," she added. "He knows about the gala. Someone's feeding him information." Mama Ngozi, wiping her hands on her wrapper, spoke up. "Razor's got eyes everywhere, Amara. You're shining too bright, and he don't like that. Men like him, they break what they can't control." Amara nodded, her resolve solidifying. "Then I'll shine brighter." She turned to Tunde. "Can you stay with Chidi tonight? I need to figure out our next move." Tunde hesitated, his eyes searching hers. "You're not going after Razor alone, are you?" "No," Amara lied, her mind already racing. She couldn't drag Tunde or Chidi deeper into this mess. Razor's threats were her fight now. After Tunde and Chidi settled in, Amara slipped out, borrowing Mama Ngozi's old bicycle. She pedaled toward a rundown bar in the heart of Ajegunle, a place whispered to be Razor's haunt. The streets were quieter now, the night heavy with the weight of secrets. The bar, lit by a single neon sign, pulsed with loud music and the clink of bottles. Amara parked the bike and steeled herself, her simple wrapper and headscarf making her blend into the crowd. Inside, the air was thick with cigarette smoke and sweat. Men laughed raucously, their eyes sharp and suspicious. Amara spotted Razor at a corner table, his scar catching the light as he leaned back, a bottle of Star beer in hand. Two of his boys flanked him, their scorpion tattoos visible even in the dim glow. Amara's heart thudded, but she moved closer, pretending to order a drink at the bar. "You're bold showing up here," a voice hissed behind her. She turned to find a young woman, no older than herself, with a sharp gaze and a faded scar on her cheek. "I know who you are, Amara. Razor's been talking about you." Amara's throat tightened. "Who are you?" "Name's Kemi," the woman said, her voice low. "Used to run with Razor's crew till I got out. You're stirring up trouble you don't understand. He's not just a thug. He's connected. Big people. Rich people." Amara's mind flashed to Chief Adebayo's calculating smile at the gala. "Connected how?" Kemi glanced at Razor, then pulled Amara closer. He's got a deal with someone high up. They protect him and he does their dirty work. That dress you made? It's got you on their radar now. Before Amara could ask more, one of Razor's boys noticed them. Oi, Kemi! Who's your friend? His voice carried a threat, and heads turned. Kemi grabbed Amara's arm. Go, now! Meet me tomorrow at the old jetty, noon. I'll tell you more. She pushed Amara toward the door as Razor's eyes locked onto her, his smirk chilling her to the bone. Amara fled, pedaling furiously back to the shop, her mind a storm of questions. Was Chief Adebayo linked to Razor? Was Madame Gloria involved? And what did Kemi know that could help her fight back? As she reached the shop, dawn was breaking, casting long shadows over Ajegunle. Tunde was awake, his face a mix of relief and frustration when he saw her. You went out alone, he said. Not a question. I had to, Amara replied, her voice firm. This isn't just about me anymore. It's about Chidi, the shop, everything I'm building. I'm meeting someone tomorrow who might know how to stop Razor. Tunde's eyes softened, but his words were sharp. You're not in this alone, Amara. Let me help. She nodded, too exhausted to argue. But as she lay down to catch a few hours of sleep, her phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. You can't hide, Amara, we see you. The shadows of Lagos were tightening their grip, and Amara knew the fight was only beginning. The morning sun barely pierced the haze over Ajegunle as Amara woke, her body aching from the night's tension. The shop was quiet, save for Chidi's soft snoring on a mat in the corner and Tunde's steady breathing as he kept watch by the door. Amara's mind churned with Kemi's words. Razors connected. Big people. Rich people. The implications gnawed at her. If Razor was a pawn for someone like Chief Adebayo, her success at the gala had painted a target on her back. She slipped out quietly, careful not to wake Chidi or Tunde. The old jetty, where Kemi had told her to meet, was a half-hour bike ride. Away, near the waterfront where rusted boats bobbed in the murky Lagos lagoon. Amara pedaled through the waking streets, past women balancing buckets of water and boys kicking deflated footballs. Her phone stayed silent. No new messages from Razor, but the absence felt more ominous than reassuring. The jetty was deserted when she arrived, the air heavy with the smell of fish and diesel. Amara leaned her bike against a crumbling pillar and scanned the area. A figure emerged from behind a stack of crates, Kemi, her eyes wary but sharp. She wore a faded t-shirt and a wrapper tied loosely around her waist, her scar more pronounced in the daylight. You came, Kemi said, her voice low. Good. But we don't have much time. Razor's boys are always watching. Amara's stomach tightened. Tell me what you know. Who's Razor working for? Kemi glanced over her shoulder, then leaned in. Chief Adebayo, he's the one pulling the strings. Razor's crew does his dirty work. Extortion, intimidation, even worse. Adebayo's got his hands in everything. Politics, real estate, even fashion now. That gala, it wasn't just a show. It was his stage to flex power, and your dress put you in the middle of it. Amara's mind reeled. Why me? I'm nobody. You're not nobody anymore, Kemi said. That dress made waves. Buyers from London, Paris, they're talking about you. Adebayo sees you as a way to control the fashion scene, maybe even launder money through your designs. And Razor? He's just the muscle to keep you in line. Amara's fists clenched. I won't let them use me. What do I do? Kemi hesitated, her eyes flickering with something like guilt. There's a ledger. Razor keeps it. Names, payments, deals tying him to Adebayo. If you get it, you could expose them. But it's dangerous. Razor keeps it close, in his hideout near the docks. Before Amara could respond, a low rumble interrupted them. An engine. A black SUV, the same one from last night, rolled into view at the edge of the jetty. Kemi cursed under her breath. Go! Now! They can't see us together! Amara grabbed. her bike, her heart pounding as she pedaled away, ducking into a narrow path lined with shanties. The SUV didn't follow, but the encounter left her shaken. Kemi's warning echoed, a ledger that could bring down Razor and Adebayo. It was a long shot, but it was her only shot. Back at the shop, Chidi and Tunde were awake, cleaning up the last of the debris. Tunde's eyes narrowed when he saw Amara's expression. "You went to meet someone," he said, his tone accusing but soft. "What happened?" Amara hesitated, then told them everything. Kemi, Adebayo, the ledger. Chidi's eyes widened, but Tunde's face darkened. "You're not going after Razor's hideout alone," he said. "I'm coming with you." "No," Amara said sharply. "You've done enough, Tunde. This is my fight." "It stopped being just your fight when Razor's boys touched Chidi," Tunde shot back. "And I owe your father. He made me promise to look out for you if anything happened to him." Amara froze. "My father? What are you talking about?" Tunde sighed, his shoulders slumping. "Before he died, he helped me get out of trouble. Bad trouble with guys like Razor. He said, you and Chidi were his world. I swore I'd protect you." "So no, Amara, you're not doing this alone." Chidi nodded, his young face set with determination. "I'm in too, sis. We're family." Amara's throat tightened, torn between gratitude and fear. She couldn't lose them, but she couldn't face Razor alone either. "Fine," she said finally, "but we need a plan." The trio spent the day plotting. Tunde knew the docks well from his taxi routes, and Chidi's knack for electronics could help bypass any locks on Razor's hideout. Amara, meanwhile, called Madame Gloria, playing the part of the eager designer. "I'm considering Chief Adebayo's offer," she lied, hoping to keep Gloria and Adebayo off her trail. Gloria's voice was warm, but there was an edge to it, like she knew more than she let on. As night fell, Amara, Tunde, and Chidi set out for the docks, armed with little more than a flashlight, Chidi's toolkit, and their courage. The hideout was an old warehouse, its windows boarded up, guarded by two of Razor's boys. The scorpion tattoos on their necks glinted under the moonlight. Amara's heart thudded as they crouched behind a stack of crates, watching. "Chidi, can you distract them?" Amara whispered. Chidi grinned, pulling a small homemade device from his pocket, a makeshift noisemaker he'd cobbled together. He tossed it toward the water, and it let out a loud, erratic beeping. The guards cursed and ran toward the sound, leaving the entrance clear. Tunde led the way inside, the warehouse dark and musty, filled with crates and the faint hum of a generator. Amara's flashlight swept the room, landing on a metal desk in the corner. There, in a locked drawer, they found it, a worn leather notebook, its pages filled with names, dates, and figures. Amara's hands shook as she flipped through it, spotting Chief Adebayo's name next to sums of money that made her head spin. But before they could leave, footsteps echoed behind them. Razor's voice cut through the dark like a blade. "You're a long way from your sewing machine, Amara." She turned, the ledger clutched to her chest, as Razor stepped into the light, his scar twisting with his smirk. Behind him, three of his boys blocked the exit, their eyes gleaming with menace. Amara's heart slammed against her ribs as Razor's smirk widened, his eyes glinting with malice in the dim warehouse light. The ledger felt like a burning weight in her hands, its pages a ticking bomb that could either save her or doom them all. Tunde stepped in front of her, his stance protective, while Chidi gripped his toolkit like a weapon, his young face set with defiance. The three of Razor's boys fanned out, their scorpion tattoos stark against their skin, cutting off any hope of a clean escape. "You've got guts, I'll give you that," Razor said, his voice low and mocking. He took a step, closer, his boots echoing on the concrete floor. "But guts don't mean much when you're in over your head." Hand over the ledger, Amara, and maybe I let your brother walk out of here. Amara's grip tightened on the notebook. Every name, every number in it was proof. Proof of Razor's crimes, proof of Chief Adebayo's corruption. If she gave it up, her dreams, her shop, her future would crumble under Razor's boot. She met his gaze, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her. You're not getting it. This ends tonight. Razor laughed, a cold, hollow sound. Big words for a girl from Ajegunle. You think you can take me down? You don't even know who you're fighting. He nodded to his boys, who started closing. In, their hands twitching toward knives tucked in their belts. Tunde whispered, Amara, get ready to run. I'll hold them off. No, she hissed back. We're not splitting up. Her eyes darted around the warehouse, searching for anything to turn the odds. The generator's hum caught her attention, a rickety old machine in the corner, its wires exposed. She glanced at Chidi, who followed her gaze and gave a slight nod, understanding her unspoken plan. Keep him talking, Chidi muttered, edging toward the generator. Amara faced Razor, forcing confidence into her voice. You're just a dog. On a leash, Razor. Chief Adebayo's the one calling the shots, isn't he? What does he pay you to terrorize people like me? Razor's smirk faltered, just for a second. You think you're clever, digging into things that don't concern you. Adebayo's out of your league, girl. Hand over the ledger, or I'll take it from your body. Chidi was at the generator now, his hands moving quickly, pulling wires, with the precision of someone who'd fixed 100 broken radios. Amara kept her eyes on Razor, stalling. Why's Adebayo so scared of a seamstress? My dress at the gala? Did it make him nervous? Or is it because people are starting to notice me instead of him? Razor's face darkened, and he took another step forward, his hand reaching for the knife at his hip. You talk too much. Before he could draw it, a loud pop echoed through the warehouse. The generator sparked, and the lights flickered out, plunging the room into darkness. Shouts erupted as Razor's boys stumbled, disoriented. Chidi's voice cut through the chaos. Now, Amara! She grabbed Tunde's arm, and they bolted toward the exit, Chidi right behind them. Razor's roar followed, along with the sound of crashing crates as his boys scrambled in the dark. Amara clutched the ledger to her chest, her legs pumping as they burst out into the humid night air. The docks were a maze of shadows, but Tunde knew the way, leading them through narrow alleys and over rusted fences. They didn't stop until they reached a small safe house Tunde used for his taxi business, a cramped room above a mechanic's shop. Panting, they barricaded the door with a table and collapsed, the ledger still in Amara's hands. Chidi grinned despite the tension. Told you my gadgets would come in handy. Amara managed a shaky laugh, but her mind was racing. We've got the ledger, but Razor's not going to stop, and Adebayo, he'll know we have it soon. Tunde nodded, wiping sweat from his brow. We need to get this to someone who can use it, someone not in Adebayo's pocket. Kemi, Amara said suddenly. She knows how this works. She might know who to trust. Chidi frowned. Can we trust her? She was with Razor's crew before. No choice, Amara said. She risked a lot telling me about the ledger. We meet her again, but we do it smart this time. The next morning, Amara sent a coded message to Kemi through a mutual contact at the market, arranging a meeting at a busy bus park where they could blend in. The park was a riot of noise. Honking, horns, shouting conductors, and passengers haggling over fares. Kemi was waiting near a Danfo bus, her eyes scanning the crowd. When she saw Amara, Tunde, and Chidi, her expression flickered with relief and fear. You got it? Kemi asked, her voice barely audible over the din. Amara nodded, patting the bag where the ledger was hidden. We need to get this to someone. Who can take down Adebayo? Police? A journalist? Kemi's face tightened. Police won't touch Adebayo. He owns too many of them. But there's a reporter, Femi Okafor, with the Vanguard. He's been digging into Adebayo for years. If anyone can use this, it's him. Where do we find him? Tunde asked. Kemi hesitated. He's in hiding. Adebayo's men are after him. I can get you to him, but it's risky. Razor's probably tearing Ajegunle apart looking for you, right now. As if on cue, Amara's phone buzzed. Another unknown number. She opened the message, and her blood ran cold. A photo of her shop, flames licking the walls, with the caption, "Next time it's you." Chidi's face paled. They burned it. They burned everything. Amara's knees buckled, but Tunde caught her. "We're not done," he said fiercely. "They want you broken, Amara. Don't give them that." Tears stung her eyes, but she nodded, her resolve hardening like steel. "Kemi, take us to Femi, now." As they piled into Tunde's taxi, the weight of the ledger felt heavier than ever. Razor was closing in. Adebayo's shadow loomed large, and the flames of her shop were a warning she couldn't ignore. But Amara was no longer just a seamstress from Ajegunle. She was a fighter, and she was ready to stitch her own destiny, no matter the cost. The taxi rattled through Lagos, the city's pulse a frenetic mix of honking horns and neon lights as dusk settled over the skyline. Amara sat in the back seat, the ledger hidden in a worn satchel clutched tightly against her chest. Her mind churned with the image of her shop in flames, years of work, dreams, and memories reduced to ash. Chidi sat beside her, his usual bravado replaced by a quiet fury, his fingers fidgeting with a screwdriver from his toolkit. Tunde drove, with grim focus, his eyes flicking to the rearview mirror for any sign of Razor's black SUV. Kemi, in the front passenger seat, gave directions in a hushed tone, guiding them toward a run-down estate on the outskirts of Surulere, where Femi Okafor, the journalist, was hiding. "He moves every few days," Kemi said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Adebayo's got people sniffing around for him. We're lucky I know his latest spot." Amara's jaw tightened. "Will he believe us? This ledger, it's got names, dates, payments, but Adebayo's powerful. What if Femi's scared to touch it?" Kemi's eyes met hers, sharp and knowing. "Femi's not scared of much. He's been dodging Adebayo's goons for years. If this ledger's as damning as I think, he'll run with it. But you've got to convince him you're for real." The taxi pulled into a narrow street lined with crumbling tenements, their walls stained with years of rain and neglect. Kemi pointed to a faded blue building with a sagging roof. "That's it. 3rd floor. No elevator, so we walk." They moved quickly, slipping out of the taxi and into the building's shadowed stairwell. The air smelled of mildew and cooking oil, and the creak of the stairs echoed like a warning. Amara's heart pounded, every noise making her flinch, expecting Razor's boys to leap out at any moment. Tunde stayed close, his hand brushing hers in quiet reassurance, while Chidi scanned the corners like a hawk, his screwdriver still in hand. On the 3rd floor, Kemi knocked softly on a door marked with peeling paint. A pause, then a gruff voice. From inside. "Who's there?" "It's Kemi. I've got people with me. They've got something you need to see." The door cracked open, revealing a man in his late 30s with tired eyes and a scruffy beard. Femi Okafor's clothes were rumpled, his small apartment cluttered with stacks of newspapers and a laptop glowing on a rickety table. He sized up Amara, Tunde, and Chidi, his gaze lingering on the satchel. "You're the seamstress from the gala," he said, surprising Amara. "Your dress was all over social media. Why are you here?" Amara didn't hesitate. She pulled out the ledger and handed it to him. "This ties Chief Adebayo to Razor, the thug who's been terrorizing my neighborhood. Extortion, bribes, maybe worse. They burned my shop tonight because I wouldn't back down." Femi's eyes narrowed as he flipped through the pages, his fingers tracing names and figures. "This is explosive," he muttered, Adebayo's. Name is here, clear as day. Payments to Razor, offshore accounts, even dates matching political deals. If this is real, it could bring him down. It's real, Amara said, her voice fierce. But Razor's after us, and Adebayo knows we have it. We need this out there now. Femi nodded, but his expression was grim. Publishing this will take time. I need to verify it, get it to my editor at the Vanguard, and Adebayo's got eyes everywhere. You're not safe here. As if to prove his point, a loud bang echoed from downstairs, followed by shouts and the sound of boots on the stairs. Kemi cursed. They found us. Razor's boys. Femi grabbed his laptop and a flash drive, shoving them into a bag. There's a back exit through the roof. Move! They scrambled out a window onto a rusted fire escape, climbing to the rooftop. As the shouts grew louder, the city stretched out below, a glittering maze of danger and possibility. Amara's breath hitched as she glanced back, spotting two figures with scorpion tattoos bursting into Femi's apartment below. Razor wasn't with them, but his presence felt like a shadow over her shoulder. Tunde led the way across the roof, jumping to the next building, where a rickety ladder led to an alley. Amara's hands shook as she followed, the ledger still in her satchel, its weight a reminder of what was at stake. Chidi, nimble despite his fear, helped Kemi navigate the gap, while Femi brought up the rear, his face set with determination. They hit the alley and ran, weaving through Surulere's back streets until they reached a small church, its doors unlocked. Inside, the air was cool and quiet, the pews empty save for a lone candle flickering at the altar. Femi locked the door behind them. We're safe here for now, he said. The pastor's a friend, but we can't stay long. Amara sank onto a pew, her mind racing. What's next? If we can't publish this yet, where do we go? Femi sat across from her, his eyes intense. I've got a contact in Abuja, an NGO that fights corruption. They can protect you and get this ledger to the right people, maybe even the EFCC. But it's a long trip, and Adebayo's reach is far. Tunde frowned. Abuja's not safe either. If Adebayo's got police, in his pocket he'll have men there too. Kemi, leaning against a wall, spoke up. There's another way. Madam Gloria. Amara's head snapped up. Gloria? She's tied to Adebayo. She's part of this. Maybe, Kemi said. But she's also ambitious. If you show her the ledger, prove Adebayo's using her as a pawn, she might flip. She's got connections. International ones. She could get you out of Lagos, maybe even to London, where Adebayo can't touch you, Chidi scoffed. Trust Gloria? After everything? It's a gamble, Kemi admitted. But right now, you're out of moves. Amara's mind spun. Gloria had championed her at the gala, but her loyalty was questionable. Still, the idea of leaving Lagos even temporarily to protect the ledger and her family was tempting, but it meant trusting someone who might be as dangerous as Adebayo before. She could decide. Her phone buzzed, a call, not a text. She hesitated, then answered. Madam Gloria's voice came through, smooth and urgent. Amara, where are you? I heard about your shop. It's terrible. Come to my boutique in Victoria Island. I can help you. Amara's grip tightened on the phone. Why should I trust you? Gloria's tone softened, but there was an edge to it. Because, my dear, you're in deeper than you know, and I'm your best way out. As Amara ended the call, the group exchanged wary glances. The church's candle flickered, casting long shadows across the walls. Outside, Lagos hummed with danger, and Amara knew every choice now could be her last. The flickering candle in the church cast eerie shadows on the walls, mirroring the uncertainty swirling in Amara's mind. Madame Gloria's offer hung in the air like a lifeline laced with poison. Trusting her felt like stepping into a trap. But staying in Lagos with Razor and Chief Adebayo closing in was no safer. The ledger, tucked tightly in Amara's satchel, was their only leverage, a fragile thread holding her dreams and her family's safety together. Tunde broke the silence, his voice low but firm. Gloria's playing her own game. If she's tied to Adebayo, she'll sell us out the second it suits her. Kemi nodded, her scar catching the candlelight. Maybe, but she's also got enemies. Adebayo's used her to climb, and she knows it. If you show her the ledger, prove he's double-crossing her, she might turn on him to save herself. Chidi, still clutching his screwdriver, frowned. And if she doesn't, she could hand us, and the ledger, straight to Adebayo. Amara's eyes flicked to Femi, who was skimming the ledger's pages again, his face etched with concentration. Femi, you're the journalist. What's your take? Can we trust Gloria, or do we head to Abuja? Femi closed the ledger, his expression grim. Gloria's a wild card. She's got power, but she's not stupid. She'll only help if it benefits her. Abuja's safer, but it's a long road, and Adebayo's got men everywhere. My contact at the NGO can protect you, but you'd need to get there without being followed. He paused, glancing at the locked church door. And after that stunt, at the warehouse, Razor's not just hunting you, he's desperate. Amara's mind flashed to the photo of her shop in flames, the words, "Next time, it's you." She couldn't let Chidi or Tunde pay the price for her fight. "We'll try Gloria," she said finally, her voice steady despite the knot in her stomach. "But we do it on our terms. We meet her somewhere public where she can't pull anything. If she wants to help, she proves it." Kemi nodded. "There's a market in Ikoyi, always packed. Tomorrow morning, it's busy enough to keep Razors. Boys at a distance, I'll set it up." Femi handed the ledger back to Amara. "Keep this hidden. I'll make copies tonight and send them to my editor just in case. If anything happens to us, the Vanguard will know where to look." They agreed to split up for the night to avoid drawing attention. Femi stayed at the church, guarded by the pastor, while Kemi led Amara, Tunde, and Chidi to a friend's house in a quiet corner of Surulere. The friend, a wiry mechanic named Biodun, offered them a small room with mats on the floor and a promise to keep watch. Exhausted, Amara lay awake, the ledger under her mat, her thoughts racing. Gloria's voice on the phone had sounded genuine, but something about it felt too smooth, too calculated. Morning came too soon, the sun rising over a city that never slept. The Ikoyi market was a riot of color and noise, traders shouting over piles of yams, fabrics flapping in the breeze, and the sizzle of suya filling the air. Amara, Tunde, and Chidi blended into the crowd, Kemi leading them to a spot near a fruit stall where Madame Gloria waited. She stood out even in the chaos, her silk dress and gold earrings a stark contrast to the market's grit. Her eyes lit up when she saw Amara, but there was a tightness in her smile. "Amara, thank God you're safe," Gloria said, her voice warm but measured. She glanced at Tunde and Chidi, then at Kemi, her brow furrowing slightly. "You've got interesting company." "No time for pleasantries," Amara said, her tone sharp. She pulled the ledger halfway out of her satchel, just enough for Gloria to see. "This ties Chief Adebayo to Razor and a whole network of corruption. Your name's in here too, Madame Gloria. So tell me, whose side are you on?" Gloria's eyes widened, but she recovered quickly, her smile tightening. "You're bold, Amara. I like that. Yes, I've worked with Adebayo, but I'm no fool. He's been using me, promising deals that never come through. If that ledger can hurt him, I'm listening." Tunde stepped closer, his voice low. "What's in it for you? Why help us?" Gloria's gaze didn't waver. "Because I want out. Adebayo's getting reckless, and I'm not going down with him. I have contacts in London, buyers who loved your dress at the gala. I can get you out of Nigeria, set you up with a studio. But I need that ledger to make sure Adebayo can't touch me." Amara hesitated, her instincts screaming caution. Gloria's offer was tempting, a fresh start, away from Razor's threats and Adebayo's shadow. But handing over the ledger meant losing her leverage. She glanced at Kemi, who gave a subtle nod, as if to say, "Play along, but be smart." "Show me proof," Amara said. "Get us to London and you get the ledger. But if you're lying, Madam Gloria, I'll make sure everyone knows your names in this book." Gloria's smile returned, this time with a hint of respect. "Fair enough. Meet me tonight at my boutique. I'll have tickets and passports ready. Bring the ledger and we'll talk." As Gloria walked away, blending into the market crowd, Chidi whispered, "You don't trust her, do you?" "Not for a second," Amara replied. "But she's our best shot right now." Kemi's expression was grim. "Be careful. If she's double-crossing you, Razor will know where you're headed." They returned to Biodun's house to regroup, but the air felt heavier now, the stakes higher. Amara's phone buzzed again, an unknown number, but this time it was a voice message. She played it, and Chief Adebayo's smooth voice filled the room. "Miss Amara, you're making dangerous enemies. Return the ledger to Madame Gloria tonight, or your brother won't see tomorrow." Chidi's face paled, and Tunde's fists clenched. Amara's heart raced, but her resolve hardened. Gloria was working with Adebayo, or at least under his thumb. The boutique meeting was a trap, but it was also an opportunity. If she could outsmart them, she could turn the tables. "We're going to the boutique," Amara said, her voice like steel. "But we're not walking in blind. Chidi, can you rig something to give us an edge?" Chidi grinned, pulling out his toolkit. "I've got an idea." As night fell, Amara, Tunde, and Chidi prepared for the showdown, the ledger their weapon and their burden. The shadows of Lagos loomed larger than ever, but Amara was ready to fight for her future, no matter who stood in her way. The night air in Victoria Island was thick with the scent of jasmine and exhaust as Tunde's taxi pulled up a block away from Madame Gloria's boutique. The street glowed with the soft neon of high-end shops, a world apart from Ajegunle's grit, but danger felt just as close. Amara's satchel, heavy with the ledger, rested on her lap, its pages a ticking bomb that could either save them or seal their fate. Chidi sat beside her, fiddling with a small device he'd cobbled together, a crude smoke bomb made from market-bought chemicals and a modified toy car motor. "It'll give us a distraction if things go south," he said, his voice steady, despite the bruise still darkening his forehead. Tunde turned off the engine, his eyes scanning the street. "Gloria's boutique is too quiet. No customers, no staff. This screams trap." Amara nodded, her stomach churning. Chief Adebayo's voice message replayed in her mind. "Return the ledger to Madame Gloria tonight, or your brother won't see tomorrow." She'd known Gloria's offer was too smooth, but Adebayo's threat confirmed it. Gloria was either his puppet or his partner. Either way, walking into that boutique was stepping into a lion's den. But Amara wasn't backing down. "Not now, not ever." "Kemi's meeting us inside," Amara said, checking her phone. Kemi had texted an hour ago, promising to slip into the boutique ahead of them to scope it out. Her loyalties were still a gamble, but she'd risked too much, all ready to be fully in Adebayo's camp. "Chidi, you stay close with that smoke bomb. Tunde, you're my eyes. If Razor's boys show up, we need to know." Tunde's jaw tightened, but he nodded. "I've got your back, always." They stepped out of the taxi, blending into the evening crowd of well-dressed Lagosians strolling the upscale street. The boutique's glass storefront shimmered, its mannequins draped in Amara's designs from the gala, a bitter reminder of how far she'd come and how much she stood to lose. The door was unlocked, the interior dimly lit. Amara's heart pounded as she pushed it open, the bell above jingling like a warning. Madame Gloria stood near a display of silk scarves, her smile as polished as ever, but her eyes darted nervously to the back of the shop. Kemi was there, leaning against a counter, her expression unreadable. No one else was visible, but the air felt heavy, like eyes were watching from the shadows. "Amara, you made it," Gloria said, her voice smooth but strained. "Do you have the ledger?" Amara's hand rested on her satchel, but she didn't open it. You said you'd help us get to London. Where are the tickets? The passports? Gloria's smile faltered. All in good time, but first, the ledger. Chief Adebayo's impatient. Amara's blood ran cold. So you're working. For him, I knew it. Gloria raised her hands, her gold bangles clinking. Not for him, Amara. With him. There's a difference. He's powerful, but I can protect you if you give me the ledger. Kemi stepped forward, her voice sharp. Don't lie to her, Gloria. Adebayo's not protecting anyone. He's cleaning house, and you're next if you don't deliver. Gloria's eyes flashed with anger, but before she could respond, the back door of the boutique burst open. Razor strode in, flanked by two of his boys, their scorpion tattoos stark under the fluorescent lights. His scar twisted as he grinned, a knife glinting in his hand. Nice reunion, he said, his voice dripping with menace. Hand over the book, Amara, or we start cutting. Gloria's eyes flashed with anger, but before she could respond, the back door of the boutique burst open. Razor strode in, flanked by two of his boys, their scorpion tattoos stark under the fluorescent lights. His scar twisted as he grinned, a knife glinting in his hand. Nice reunion, he said, his voice dripping with menace. Hand over the book, Amara, or we start cutting. Chidi's hand tightened on his smoke bomb, and Tunde shifted closer to Amara, ready to move. Amara's mind raced. She'd expected a trap, but not this fast. She locked eyes with Kemi, who gave a subtle nod, her hand slipping into her pocket. Amara took a deep breath, playing for time. You want the ledger, Razor? It's not just Adebayo's name in here. Yours is all over it. You think he'll let you walk if this goes public? Razor's grin faded, his eyes narrowing. You're out of your depth, girl. Give it up. Before Amara could respond, Kemi moved, pulling a small canister from her pocket and hurling it at Razor's feet. It hissed, spewing thick white smoke that filled the boutique in seconds. Go! Kemi shouted. Chidi tossed his own smoke bomb, adding to the chaos as the room became a choking haze. Amara grabbed Tunde's arm, and they bolted for the front door, Chidi right behind. Razor's boys coughed and cursed, their footsteps stumbling in the fog. Gloria's voice rang out shrill and panicked. Stop them! Outside, the night air hit Amara like a slap. They sprinted toward the taxi, but headlights flared at the end of the street, another black SUV blocking their path. Tunde swore, pulling them into an alley instead. We can't outrun them in the car, he said, his voice urgent. We need to hide. They ducked behind a stack of crates, hearts pounding as the SUV's doors slammed and boots hit the pavement. Razor's voice cut through the night. Find them. They don't leave this street. Amara's mind raced. The ledger was still in her satchel, but they were cornered. Kemi had bought them time, but where was she? Had she betrayed them, or was she caught in the boutique? Chidi whispered, I can rig something else. Maybe a spark to scare them off. No, Amara said, her voice firm. We need to get to Femi. He's got the copies. If we lose the ledger, he can still expose Adebayo. Tunde nodded, scanning the alley. There's a motorbike lot nearby. We can borrow one, get to the church, but we've got to move now. As they crept through the shadows, Amara's phone buzzed. A text from Femi. Got the copies. Pastor's hiding me. Hurry. Relief surged, but it was short-lived. A figure loomed at the alley's end. Razor, his knife catching the streetlight's glow. No more running, Amara, he growled. Before she could react, Tunde lunged, tackling Razor to the ground. The knife skidded across the pavement, and Amara grabbed Chidi, pulling him toward the motorbike lot. Tunde! She screamed, torn, between running and helping. Go! Tunde shouted, grappling with Razor. I'll catch up. Amara hesitated, her heart breaking, but Chidi tugged her forward. They reached the lot, hot wiring a battered Yamaha with Chidi's quick hands. As the engine roared to life, Amara glanced back, seeing Tunde break free and sprint toward them, Razor's boys in pursuit. She gunned the bike, Chidi clinging to her waist, and sped into the Lagos night, the ledger still in her grasp, but the cost of their escape mounting with every second. The motorbike's engine roared as Amara weaved through the chaotic streets of Lagos, the wind whipping her face as Chidi clung tightly to her waist. The ledger, still secure in her satchel, felt like a lead weight, its secrets pulling her deeper into a dangerous game. Behind them, the sounds of pursuit, screeching, tires and shouted Lyle shouts, faded but didn't disappear. Amara's heart pounded, not just for their safety but for Tunde, who she'd last seen grappling with Razor in the alley. She forced the image from her mind, focusing on the road ahead. They had to reach Femi at the church before Razor's boys, or, worse, Chief Adebayo's men, caught up. Chidi's voice, barely audible over the engine, cut through her thoughts. "They're still behind us, Amara! That SUV!" She glanced at the side mirror, her stomach lurching. The black SUV loomed in the distance, its headlights cutting through the night like a predator's eyes. Amara pushed the bike harder, dodging a late-night Okada and narrowly avoiding a street vendor's cart. The church was only a few minutes away, but every second felt like an eternity. "Hold on," she shouted, swerving into a narrow side street. The SUV struggled to follow, its bulk too large for the tight turns. Amara's mind raced. She needed a plan, but the ledger was her only leverage, and Femi was her only hope to get it out to. The world. She couldn't let it fall into Adebayo's hands. They burst out of the side street, the church's modest steeple visible in the moonlight. Amara skidded to a stop in the shadowed courtyard, pulling Chidi off the bike. "Stay low," she whispered, dragging him behind a low wall. The SUV hadn't reappeared, but she knew it was only a matter of time. The church door creaked open, and Femi's silhouette appeared, his face tense. "You made it," he whispered, ushering them inside. The candlelit interior was still, the air heavy with the scent of wax and old wood. Femi locked the door behind them. "I sent the copies to my editor. The story's being prepped, but it'll take time to verify. Where's Tunde?" Amara's throat tightened. He held off Razor so we could get away. "I don't know if he made it." Femi's eyes softened, but his voice was urgent. "We can't stay here long. Adebayo's men are combing the city. The pastor's gone to get his car. We're heading to a safe house in Ipi. You'll be safe there until the story breaks." Chidi, still clutching his screwdriver, shook his head. "What about Tunde? We can't just leave him." Amara grabbed his shoulders, her voice firm but breaking. "Tunde's tough, he'll find us. But we have to protect the ledger, Chidi. It's bigger than us now." Before Chidi could argue, a soft knock came at the door. Femi tensed, but the pastor's voice called out, "It's me. The car's ready." They piled into the pastor's old Peugeot, Amara clutching the satchel as they sped out of the city. The road to Epe was dark, lined with dense bush and the occasional flicker of village lights. Amara's eyes kept darting to the rear window, expecting the SUV's headlights at any moment. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "You can't run forever. Give up the ledger and we talk." Adebayo's words sent a chill down her spine, but she deleted the message, her resolve hardening. The safe house was a small, tin-roofed bungalow hidden in a grove of palm trees. The pastor led them inside, where Kemi was waiting, her face bruised, but defiant. "I got out of the boutique," she said, answering Amara's unspoken question. "Razor's boys were too busy chasing you. But Gloria's gone quiet, too quiet. I don't trust her." Amara nodded, her mind racing. "She's with Adebayo, or at least scared of him. She tried to trap us tonight." Femi set up his laptop on a wobbly table, his fingers flying across the keys. "The story's almost ready. If we can get it out, Adebayo's done. But we need to keep you alive until then." He glanced at Amara. "You're the face of this now. People saw your dress at the gala. They'll listen to you." Amara felt the weight of his words. She was no longer just a seamstress. She was a symbol, a spark that could ignite a fire. But the cost was crushing. Her shop, her safety, maybe even Tunde. She pushed the thought away, focusing on the ledger. What do we do now? Stay hidden, Femi said. The safe house is off, the grid, but Adebayo's got resources. We wait for the story to hit. Then we move to Abuja. My NGO contact can get you protection. Chidi paced the small room, his voice sharp. And Tunde? We just hope he shows up? Kemi put a hand on his shoulder. Tunde's a survivor. He knows Lagos better than Razor's boys. He'll find us. But as the hours ticked by, doubt gnawed at Amara. She sat by the window, staring into the dark, the ledger in her lap. The night was alive with the hum of crickets and the distant rumble of a storm. Then a faint light flickered on the horizon. A motorbike. Her heart leapt. But as it drew closer, she saw the rider wasn't Tunde. It was a young man, one of Razor's. Boys! His scorpion tattoo visible even from a distance. Femi! Amara hissed, backing away from the window. They found us! Femi cursed, grabbing his bag. Pastor, get the car ready. We're moving now. As they scrambled for the door, the motorbike's engine cut off and footsteps crunched on the gravel outside. Amara's grip tightened on the ledger, her mind racing. The safe house was no longer safe, and with Tunde still missing, their odds were shrinking. But Amara's fire burned brighter than ever. She'd fight to the end to protect her family and expose the truth.